Michael Jordan in Looney Tune land. Have I mentioned that this is the coolest crossover / collaboration in the past, present, and future of entertainment history? We're talking a live action / animation, a dynamic combination of visual storytelling where tiny aliens descend into Looney Tune land to kidnap Bugs Bunny and all of his Toon pals. And while Bugs Bunny negotiates the hostile takeover by challenging the tiny aliens to a game of basketball, the aliens up the ante by sucking the talent out of 5 NBA players, using it to transform themselves into a powerful all-star team known as the Monstars. That's when Bugs Bunny enlists the help of NBA superstar Michael Jordan to help the Toon Squad defeat the Monstars, avoid a lifetime of slavery, and restore balance in the universe once and for all. Space Jam is one of those movies that makes you feel like you can do anything you set your mind to. And it achieves this by using some of the greatest R&B songs of the 90s. You know those feel-good jams that make you want to rise like a phoenix from the ashes? Songs including, but not limited to, I Believe I Can Fly. Space Jam really does make you feel like you can fly. This movie just gets you hyped about life. Never made it to the NBA? Don't sweat it. Space Jam brings the NBA to you. Followed by some of the dopest opening credits of all time. The coolest thing about this film is that the story takes place in a universe where the cartoon world coexists with the real world. Live action and animation collide into a whole new world where realism and fantasy coalesce like a child's imagination running wild. Some of my favorite scenes involve Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck sneaking into Michael Jordan's house and interacting with this foreign, three-dimensional environment. I like to think that on some level it symbolizes this idea that everything you can imagine is taking place in some dimension of reality, even if that crossover involves your favorite cartoon character and your favorite athlete. This is what defines the essence of Space Jam, two cultural phenomenons brought together in this alternate dimension where cartoons and humans can coexist. Take for instance that famous scene where Bugs Bunny pulls Michael Jordan down a golf hole and sucks him into another dimension where he ends up in Looney Tune land. Who wouldn't want to live in a cartoon world? Seriously, someone needs to invent some kind of virtual reality that simulates everyone's favorite cartoon worlds. Then we'd turn ourselves into cartoon characters and bop around with all the other cartoon characters. We'd be like Leo from Inception, not sure if we're in the cartoon world or the real world. Another sequence that deserves special mention is the way the movie kicks off the basketball game of the century. Starting with the massive cartoon characters stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic, and then cutting to the Toon Squad who are prepping for the ultimate game. It's absolutely mind-blowing watching Michael Jordan playing with and against all of these cartoon characters while maintaining the intensity and realism of playing a basketball game within an animated environment. And the cinematography captures this intense struggle with so much power and energy. This spectacular crossover between fiction and reality adds another layer of humor with the insane amount of references to branding and sponsorships.
Come on, Michael, it's game time. Get your Hanes on, lace up your Nikes, grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade, and we'll pick up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark.
It's like a 90-minute commercial for the 90s. Normally this would be considered a tacky move, but it manages to fit in with the theme of the story because the villain's conflict sets up this idea of corporate branding right from the get-go. Boss alien Mr Swackhammer, voiced by none other than Danny DeVito, is the owner of this really sucky theme park known as Moron Mountain. He decides that his park needs something new, something loony. Hence why he orders his minions to kidnap the Looney Tunes and later sets his eyes on Michael Jordan so he can use them to attract more customers. In other words, he wants to use cultural icons such as a professional athlete and famous cartoon characters to rebrand his business and sell a product. Which is ironic because that's exactly what Warner Brothers did for this movie. But what makes Space Jam extra special is all of the wacky random ideas that are brought to life by this message of believing in your bizarre, crazy dreams. Because you never know when your favorite cartoon characters might show up and remind you of exactly what it is that you're capable of achieving. Not to mention, this movie has a way of bringing out your best self. I believe I can fly, I believe I can fly.